Welcome to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend Guard. I'm a law professor at Tulane University Law School, and I just wanna quilt. Okay, so today we are interviewing Camille Ainsworth. She is a lot of fun. She's part of our Facebook quilting army. She is way into her mom being a partner in crime. She also is really into passage quilts, so we'll learn more about what that is. And she also did a field trip report for us on the Mount Hood Quilt Guild. So this is our interview with her. She's part of the Stitching in the Northwest group, and she's a lot of fun. Let's start with the first question, which is, tell me your name and where you're calling from today.
My name's Camille Ainsworth, and I'm calling from Albany, Oregon.
Awesome. And then we have to ask the very first question, which is, what's your first memory of someone sewing or quilting in your life?
My mom started sewing when she was young, but my first memory was her making clothes for my sister and myself in Halloween costumes.
Yeah. What did she make you?
I distinctly remember my sister being a butterfly one year, maybe a couple years. that costume may have gone on for more than 1 year.
Yeah.
And I was a tiger 1 year.
Ah, nice. Very nice. And on your website, you talk about your mom being your partner in crime, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
So we basically do everything quilty together. And I have crazy ideas and she has crazy ideas, and we kind of come together and talk about them. Usually for me, I talk to her and she kind of calms me down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I want to do all kinds of wild things. And
I see. All right. She brings some sense back into your crazy plan. Okay. I like that.
And she asks me sometimes about her quilting, inspiration, and just if I've seen different things online that could help her with long arm ideas and that type of stuff.
How long has she been doing long arming?
She's been doing it, I think, since 2000.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And what kind of long arm is she doing it, or is it computerized? Like, sort of, what is her strategy? She's
doing it, and she does it mostly freehand.
Yeah.
So she started out with pantographs, which is a piece of paper that has the design on it, and you follow it with the laser. And now she has graduated after so many years to just doing her own patterns.
That's really cool. And why did you just not gravitate to that part? Like, what makes her? Does she do all of it? It's really not an interview about her, but I'm trying to get a sense of sort of. Right. You said she's got the long arm, you don't. Sort of, what's your quilting relationship like?
I never really wanted to do the quilting part.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make the top and then I'm done with it.
Interesting.
She likes to do the finishing, and she likes to make her own tops, and she's a really fast sewer.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah. But it took me a long time to get into quilting.
Yeah.
I started when I was 19.
Interesting.
And that was only because one of the ladies in her small quilt group that meets at Fabric Depot in Portland, she wrote a book about painless paper piecing. So you actually don't sew through the paper. You
don't?
No.
Tell me about that.
So it's kind of hard to explain, but instead of sewing through the paper, you fold the piece of paper back and sew where the line would be.
Oh, okay, cool. I see it. Is this, let me see. It's getting slow. Our internet connection's slow. Cool. Is it by Marjorie Rhine?
That's correct.
Cool. All right. I'm going to put it on this page that we're looking at. People get mad because they hear me clicking, but I'm actually just putting a link in. Yeah, interesting. So you tried it. That's how you got into quilting?
Yeah, so pretty much everybody in my mom's small quilt group bought the book, and she did a class on it, and I just kind of happened to be there. And so I tried it out, and I didn't continue quilting continuously for most of my 20s. It wasn't until I was about 26, 27 that I started to get back into it, because quilting was something that didn't come easy to me. It was kind of hard.
I like to hear that. I feel that way all the time. People, what was hard about it?
It was just the process. I don't think I really understood all the pieces coming together, or it seemed really daunting because you're making something large and it wasn't done in an afternoon.
Yeah. Right, wasn't done in an afternoon. So what brought you? So tell me how you feel about quilting now.
I love quilting. It's pretty much my life.
Yeah, tell me what. Is that why you started the blog? The blog is
it is.
And your blog is Stitching in the Northwest, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me why you like quilting and why you blog about it.
I like quilting because I like creating, but I also love the colors of the fabrics. And sometimes I don't use a lot of bright colors. I have a tendency to gravitate towards blue.
Interesting.
Or black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of got to the point where it became, when my grandmother died, I started to make a quilt. Well, it was actually my uncle died first and then my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I started to make kind of a memory quilt, not with pictures, but with skulls, Dia de los Muertos, kind of a commemorative kind of healing process for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's when quilting finally clicked for me. It became something that I enjoyed.
Because it was emotionally connective.
Right.
The quilting process was allowing you to mourn your grandmother through the quilting, or your uncle through the quilting.
Yeah.
So you've kept in that line, you've got passage quilts on your website. Tell us a little bit about what a passage quilt is.
A passage quilt is a 40 by 60 quilt this is usually not something people really want to talk about it because it seems unhappy, but when a person dies in the hospital, the nurses or the chaplain picks out a quilt and they place it over the body bag, and it goes with the person to the funeral home, and then it's given to the family. And
you make these. And this is like one of the things you do. And did this start with your uncle or your grandmother? Is that where it started? How did that become a focus of what you do? One of the focuses. I know you do other things, so I'm not saying that. So right.
It didn't actually start with them. It started about 6 months ago or so.
Really?
A nurse that I know that works at the hospital, she was talking with the chaplain because he knew she quilted. Mm-hmm. And he's like, do you think, there's people in the community that could get together and make quilts? Because they were buying blankets off of Amazon because they didn't. Yeah. Because
they didn't want the body. They wanted the family to see something beautiful, or not the body bag. Is that right? It's to sort of protect the family? Is that
not necessarily to protect the family, but it's just something that is supposed to be comforting to the family.
Comforting. Yeah. So interesting. Do you know if this is widespread, this concept, or is it's so interesting where quilts are made, right? So we just saw presentations to St. Tammany Parish where the firefighters and first responders give quilts to kids, when there's some trauma happening. The space of like where quilts come, where you find a quilt, a homemade quilt in our society is so interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that we're all making these all over the country for different reasons, and that it's a form of love, of comfort, of and that it's all still by hand. I mean, machine quilted or whatever. But what does that say? Like, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like, what
it is.
How do we explain this in our super capitalist, high, fast-paced world that we have this as part of our culture right now? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I do think that people want to provide something to someone that is made, by their own hands and with love. So that handmade thing is kind of, it's more
something
special.
More. Right.
Yeah.
There's something more, right?
Yeah.
And these are like intimate, hard times for people. And we think that quilts make that better.
Yeah.
Whether that's the passing of a baby in a NIC unit, or a foster kid that doesn't have a parent, or in an emergency, or as a passage quilt, in these moments in our life that are hard moments or lovely moments, birth of a baby, right? A wedding quilt. But we see that these moments in our life that the quilts help make them celebrate or comfort. Or is there any, I can't really think of other, I'm sure there are, but like other sort of crafts that have that at so much of its core. It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of right now is prayer shawls.
Oh, yeah, right.
Otherwise, I'm not familiar with all of that.
Yeah.
With anything else that really...
Yeah, it's so and just the charity side of it. It's so interesting. All of the guilds, right? And the different groups and quilts. And then what I thought was so interesting about the one that I just saw, and I know you got to do a field trip, but I'm going to say this before we start our field trip, is that, I thought, well, we're all making these things and like, who really cares, right? Like, is it just us being kind of dumb about the world, right? Like we're making all these quilts and people are all like, oh, thanks for the quilt, but like, not really. But the firefighters and the people that presented were so moved and said how important it was to sort of what they did, that the quilts made a huge difference. And it didn't seem like they were pretending, right? It was like real.
No.
And same with the foster kids. So in New Orleans, there's a group that gives quilts to every foster kid, and they didn't have enough this year. And so there was like, we have to make more to make sure every kid gets a quilt. And that really mattered. And we need bigger quilts because there's bigger kids and all that kind of stuff. So it matters. Like what we're doing in these charity quilting conversations, and the space matters. Do you find that to what you're doing as well? I
do. What I like about the passage quilts is that it's not something that is widely known.
Yeah.
And it's also a smaller size. And I know that's, just logistics of it, but it's easier to, make a passage quilt and get it done. I mean, we've had so many requests because we're still trying to get a backlog of quilts for them to be able to pull.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how many, are you with a group that's doing this?
Yes, but there's only about 4 or 5 of us that are doing it, that are trying to provide quilts to one hospital. And what's your goal? If someone's listening, I hope they're listening. Nobody's listening. No, our numbers are going up. They really are. They're growing up. So let's say someone's listening and they want to get involved. How do they get involved with making these? If there's already some charities set up to do these or something similar at hospitals, so they would contact the hospital itself.
Got it.
If you're in the Albany, Corvallis, Lebanon area in Oregon, you contact me.
Can they make them for you even if they're not in your area? Would you
if they wanted to make tops and send them to us to be quilted, we would do that.
Oh, that's great. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we'll have to think about that. That's really cool. And it's 40 by 60? Is that what you do? Awesome.
And we've had a request for more patriotic quilts.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Right. So you're saying if you make the passage quilt, you can use the width of the fabric for the backing. Right.
Exactly.
I am totally into that right now. So I'm making lap quilts, but they have to be like yard lap quilts, basically. Like I don't want it to be bigger because I don't want to have to piece the back. And also I'm just not really, I'm quilting kind of fast and just experiencing stuff. So, So yeah, that's funny. I like the, right. So that you don't have to do all that. Okay. Well, that's really cool. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That's one of the considerations for the size of the passage quilt is that you only need the width of fabric for the backing.
That's really great, right? All quilts should be that way.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting more clever or lazier. It's hard to know, like
Right.
it's very hard to know. All right, cool. And on your blog, you post on Mondays. Is that right? Is that what you do?
That's correct. And I
tell
missed
me
this
about
past Monday.
Okay, so tell me, blogging.
Yes.
So I'm going to try it again. I am a failed. I tried Cheryl Sloboda's 30-day blog challenge, and on the third day, after not doing it for the first, I did the first day, not the second day. The third day, I wrote a thing saying why I don't like blogging, and then was done. So it was completely a failure. So tell me, and I've blogged before for work or whatever, but tell me what you like about blogging and any strategies you have, because I am going to try to do a blog this summer, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay, so this is my 4th try.
Okay.
Not with this particular blog, but I have, like I mentioned before, I have all kinds of weird ideas.
Yeah.
And, I try to make a blog and then I don't follow through with it.
Yeah, I get it.
I also did Cheryl Sloboda's 30 Days of Blogging.
Did you make it? Did you do it?
I did, I think, 18 out of 30.
That's pretty good, right?
I ran out of stuff to talk about because I didn't prep.
I think you do have to prep, don't you?
Yes. So my strategy became, post either once a month, pick a timeline and really stick to it. So every Monday, I did not do this past Monday because I was hand dyeing fabric. So we'll have a little recap next week. Yeah. And it also helps me keep me on track with my quilting too. Right. I have a backlog of passage quilts to bind, and I need to get those done so I can get them posted up on the blog and then also get them donated. So it does. It keeps you honest. Yeah. Now, how do you, so every time I write on a blog, I feel like I'm writing like I'm pretending people are reading it because nobody's actually going to read it. Do you have that feeling of like the audience? Do you have like a subscriber list, or do you not care? Are you doing it for you? Like, why are you blogging? I'm doing it more for myself. I don't really care if people read it. Yeah. I've been getting some subscribers, but I'm not sure if they're actual people or like some kind of bot or something like that. Yeah, I know. We get some of those sometimes. It's interesting, isn't it? Yes. Because the emails look kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. I think I just don't care anymore. Yeah, it's just about you. You're just kind of recording. It's almost like a public diary, but it's more about your stuff. Right. And then if people follow it or see you or want to know who you are. Right. Yeah. Interesting. Same thing with Instagram and Facebook. I post things and it's like, okay, I made this, but it's more of me keeping track of what I've done throughout the year. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, I do that. Facebook's kind of become my research place. It's kind of weird. Right. Like just to hold stuff. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's really interesting. Right. So where do you blog? Like what platform do you use for blogging? WordPress. Mm-hmm. People like WordPress. I've never been a huge fan of it. It's interesting. I don't know why. I think something about the aesthetic. I tried Squarespace and some of the functionality wasn't there for what I was wanting to do. Yeah. So I transferred over to WordPress. It has its own pluses and minuses as well. It does. They all do. We use Wix because I like Wix a lot. We watched it grow up, but and we've tried Weebly. I've tried all of them. There's like, but it's hard because I feel like the platform itself sort of forces you into it impacts on how you think and write. Like if the format, right? You know what I mean? Like it has to be like, I don't know. I think I'm kind of intellectually fussy about that. So I want it to like be a joyful experience and like feel like natural and like part of my writing experience. And Wix doesn't really do that for me. I feel more like it's a chore, but I haven't really found one that I felt like. I used to do TypePad when I first blogged. I like TypePad. Yeah. So I struggle. I don't know why, because I write all the time, but something about the blog always makes me feel like I'm being punished for something. I don't know. Yeah, and I don't write all the time. I feel like I'm a terrible writer, but I just do it anyway. No, but your blog posts are great. So yeah, you're like, I like them, and they're really helpful. I mean, they're like,
they're reasonable. They tell you stuff, and you go on. And I liked the links that you were providing, and I could get to really interesting things. So, no, I thought they were great. It made me feel like I should probably be better about blogging. So, all right. So that is not why we're here. We're not going to talk about blogging or long arming or passage quilts or alphabet quilts or why you like to quilt. Oh, alphabet quilts.
Yes.
How do you do the alphabet? Are they paper pieced? Like, what are you doing for
They
alphabet?
are.
They are. I love paper piecing. Do you love paper piecing?
I do. And actually,
so
most of the time,
rewarding, right?
It is. Now, the Circle of Love pillow.
Yeah.
With the hand-dyed fabrics and radiating stuff.
Yeah.
I actually sewed through the paper for that one.
You did? Because
I thought the hearts were too small. And
so you made your own heart? You made it bigger?
No. Different? That is a pattern by Quiet Play Designs. Uh-huh. And I just felt like the pattern needed the stability of me sewing through the paper.
Got it.
Because
you were using the other strategy of not doing it. Got it. Yeah, it's really cool. It's rainbow. I'll put a picture on it on the website with your interview. It's gorgeous. I just want to make it. Was it fun to make? Was it hard?
It wasn't hard, although I was sick when I was trying to make it. So I'd sew like 2 seams and then I'd be done. And so I did. It's made in quadrants. So I did it over, I think, 2 weeks.
And it's rainbow. It's really cool. And you said the fabric where did the fabric come from?
I hand dyed it.
You hand dyed it?
Yes.
That is incredible.
We're actually scheduled to talk next week about hand dyed fabric.
We are? Oh, cool.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. That's great. Okay, good. Well, then we'll have part 2. Okay. So this is Elizabeth Townsend Guard. You've been listening to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. We want to hear from you. Join our army, our quilting army. Go to our Facebook page. Suggest people to be interviewed. Suggest yourself to be interviewed. We are excited to hear from you. But most importantly, I hope you get a chance to quilt today.